Greetings friends, Jared here with Fanboys Forever, and today we're going to be bringing you a special in-depth review of the new Spinmaster 3-in-1 Batcave for their 3 3/4 Caped Crusader line. So yeah, let's talk about kind of what brought us to this point. You know that for many years we have been reviewing Mattel's Batman products, and after taking a hiatus from reviewing some of those products through some of the mission series that Mattel did for a couple of years there, which I really enjoyed, we're finally in a new era of Batman toys. And so far, I think Spinmaster has done a really great job. As a matter of fact, I think they've outdone Mattel quite a bit in the last couple of years that they've had the license. It's important to note that this is like a $45, $50 playset, and the last big Batcave playset that Mattel did was like $120, something like that, for Batman v Superman, and then they repainted it and recast it for Justice League. So it's certainly not as big as those. However, this is kind of that mid-range playset that Mattel really never ever did. They did super cheap versions of the Batcave, like when they did the tiny little 2-inch carrying case version. Then they kind of did the Power Attack 6-inch version. This is 3 3/4 scale. And much like the old Power Attack Batcave that we reviewed on our channel, a million years ago, this one does also include an exclusive Batman figure. So I can't wait to crack this thing open. I've not opened it yet, so I don't know what we're in for. So before we actually build this thing, let's take the briefest of looks at the packaging. We have a really cool kind of animated image of Batman that the artist Spinmaster uses put together. It's kind of a rebirth or looking Batman with the yellow outline around the bat symbol. And then we have the strikingly similar packaging design from Mattel's Batman Missions line, and I've always wondered maybe some of the same people moved over to Spinmaster to do some of the packaging design, or maybe this just came with the license. Not really sure, but it does look extremely similar to the products that Mattel had on the shelves just a year and a half ago or so. And by far the most exciting part of the packaging, the bottom. It's just blank, it's totally black, except for this barcode, so maybe that'll help somebody out if they need it. So yeah, let's go ahead and build this thing. So let's take a look at the whole thing assembled, then we'll take a closer look at each level disassembled. And here's a look at the Batcave all together as one solid piece. We start at the bottom. Here we have the garage area down here. We have the next level, which is like Batman's costume vault, or for his accessories and kind of like a changing area. And then we have a jail. Then up here we have the Bat computer. So before we take a look at each individual level of the Batcave side, I should show you one of the coolest features of this Batcave. You can actually just take it, and I usually pick it up by this area right here. Seems to be the most stable. You can just flip it around. And on the other side, you get a fully featured little Gotham City kind of diorama, complete with a sewer, complete with like the side of a street and the top of some buildings. So pretty much any kind of diorama situation you would want Batman to be in like the city in Gotham, you have all those opportunities here. You kind of have the subterranean level, the regular level, and of course the rooftop level. So just having a quick look at all this. There's some interesting stickers here that we'll get into. And of course we'll be breaking it down level by level. Like I said earlier, you can break this thing apart piece by piece. So from the bottom to the top, let's start having a look. Okay, let me show you how you separate it. What I like to do is take out these cardboard pieces, and we'll get more into those in a second, just so that we don't bend them or damage them. And there's one side, and there's the other. Just kind of get a hold of the top, pull it like that, and it actually stayed together. So, all right, so let's have a closer look at the bottom level of the Batcave. So we can see that our gas pump has come disconnected over here. And let's talk about it first. It's just kind of a rubbery kind of hose. This is all a soft, pliable rubber. And even this is kind of a squishy material. There's no hard plastic here. And you have this little kind of hook right here, this handle. You just put it right there, and that's where it hangs out. It doesn't like to stay there, though, if you do much with it. So that is definitely something to be aware of. For the sculpting, there's just a lot of blue hard plastic here. We go down here, and we can see that we actually have some of Batman's weapons, and they're actually molded in some color. So that's actually a nice little surprise. Usually none of this stuff gets painted in a playset for a younger kid like this. At the bottom, we actually have some sculpting. You can see some of the details in the rock formations. Pretty nice. You can see that they've even included a little bat logo. It's upside down on the gas pump, but still. I also like how this isn't just a gas pump, but we can actually see that there's a wrench. It looks like there's like a welding tool, and then there's kind of the gas pump right here. At least that's what I think it is anyway, so your interpretation may vary. We have some rivets and things, and it not only looks like Batman's gadgets, but this almost looks like some kind of screwdriver here instead of Batman's grapple gun. So maybe Batman's got his tools up there too. Let's go over here. We can see we have some similar things going on. We have some panels. We even have some tubing that leads from the side here. Maybe Batman's HVAC he's got hooked up. And then as for any other sculpted detail for the Batcave, it's probably worth noting, and I'll just show you all, that there isn't really anything going on the inside. It's just kind of an empty plastic shell. It's the other side of the sculpting. As for an action feature, there really isn't a whole lot to speak of down here on this first level. What you can do is, of course, have one of the ladders right here. So I guess you could count that as an action feature. There is a little hook right here. Interestingly, these do serve as handholds as well. Say, for instance, if I wanted to take Batman, the hand is molded to where it's the right size, to where you get a really firm grip on there. So if Batman's maybe going to do some pull-ups before the next big mission. So we'll just have a quick look at the cardboard inserts that we have on the sides of the Batcave. Here we have the giant green T-Rex that we see in so many pieces of adapted media, and we of course see it in the comics constantly. In the background we have Batman's giant penny, which I've always been a huge fan of. Those to me are two of the most essential things you could have in the Batcave, and I'm so glad that maybe for the first time there's a Batcave playset that features at least a representation of both of those things in a regular action figure line. So I'm really pleased with that. That's great. Maybe in the comments below tell me if it has been featured before. I would love to hear about it. It's interesting to note, by the way, that this is on the front and this one is situated to the back. So when you look at it, it kind of has a cool kind of depth of field effect where the T-Rex is more in the front and this is more in the background. It also means that this little area becomes a play area. And have a look. Batman goes right there. It's kind of its own little area. It's plenty big enough for him to get through. Just big enough, actually. I believe they have taken a Spinmaster figure and they have measured out exactly what it would take for his shoulders in terms of width to clear right through that opening. And of course height, there's plenty of room to spare. So I really like this, and some of the coolest sculpting is actually over here on the side, where you have more of the cave's rock formations going on, with a little bit of the techie bits, and even a little bit of the block from the other side with the sewer display. We can see the cardboard backdrop that's being used here. Really like little details here. It's not as fun or exciting as the T-Rex and the giant penny, but I still like to see the Batman the Animated Series giant spiral staircase, so that's really nice. And of course we see kind of a bat cycle, I suppose. The only criticism I would have here is the bat cycle looks a little CGI to me. I would much rather it be more of a traditional kind of hand-drawn looking design, kind of like the T-Rex and the giant penny. But you know, that's a small nitpick. Last thing that might count as an action feature is your Batmobile can actually be parked here. I don't have the Spinmaster Batmobile, so I'll use an old Mattel 3 3/4 one. And this is really cool. It can go all the way through, and I've knocked over the gas pump again. You can go all the way in and out, no problem. And so that would probably be the main draw of this section of the playset. And of course the Spinmaster Batmobile shouldn't have any trouble kind of fitting through there. If I had any other criticisms for this level of the cave, I would say that I do like the blue. Maybe it should have been brown, but I also get that in a whole lot of art, even though the cave might be brown, the lighting does make it appear to be blue a whole lot of the time. So, you know, maybe a compromise, maybe some customizer out there can give this kind of a brilliant kind of accented brown paint job in some parts of it. That would be really neat. If I ever found another one of these for cheap, that might be something I would consider doing, actually. So that's just something to think about. The only other criticism I would have is that right here in this weapons area, wouldn't it have been great if they had actually had like some spots, like some pegs to where you could have pegged in accessories from your other figures? That would have been awesome. I'm always loving accessory storage on this kind of thing, and it's a shame they didn't take the opportunity to do that, but that's probably my biggest gripe. Overall, Spinmaster did a great job on this bottom Batcave section. Moving on up into the Batcave, we have the middle portion, and this is kind of Batman's costume vault area. We can see that he has his gold suit of armor on display because Batman is incredibly vain, as we all know. It is a funny choice. If I were them, I definitely would have went with something maybe a little different there. How about like a blue suit of armor? That would have been a little more in line with this Batman. We also have our jail cell, and we have a funny costume tube display thing. Let's go ahead and have a look at the top. Really isn't much to speak of on the top. It's so nondescript, and there is some sculpted detail up here with some rivets and some other kind of line work that, you know, it could look like the top of something. It really doesn't look out of place, so it doesn't necessarily look unfinished. These, you could even say these are some kind of pipes or something. It is funny that the jail cell doesn't have a roof this way, so not sure how secure that is when you have your prisoner in there. As for any other sculpting work, we can see back here that we kind of have the walls of the Batcave sculpted in, and there's an action feature that we'll go over in a moment. So this is cool to kind of have some line work back here. That's nice. On the floor, we have some kind of cords and some more bolts and things. Over to the side, we have kind of some techie details over there. The costume tube itself kind of has some cool little details on it. And the vault for Batman's golden vanity suit of armor is kind of spruced up with a little bit of details and some bolts right up there at the top. So it's not too bad, really. There's lots of little details. And over here on the jail cell, there's lots of cool details with a security keypad, and then right here with the door with all the bolts on it. We can open that up and see that it's pretty plain on the inside. As a matter of fact, there's a hole in the floor, so that's kind of where it would connect. And over to the side, we kind of have just some little line work on the wall. It's kind of hard to light this and show you everything exactly. On the bottom, there's some ridges. Let's look on the side. We can see the jail actually extends. So you can actually get some cool shots of some villains in here. Drop him in from the top, so that's kind of fun that you have that option. And you could get some pretty neat little shots if you wanted to, of your bad guys in there. I am curious about one thing. Will a villain as large as, say, Man-Bat fit in there with wings connected and all? So let's take Man-Bat. He's one of the big kind of bulkier villains, but he'll actually fit with Joker in there. So it's actually pretty nice. Yep, it even clears his height as well. Yeah, that would be no problem once everything is even assembled. So that's not bad. It's actually much better than I thought it would be. Usually the jails are really puny in these play sets. You can hardly get anything in there. Look at that. Sorry, Dr. Kirk Langstrom. We do have some stickers here. We have a couple of stickers for the console there and at the bottom. And that's kind of it. There's not many stickers on this level at all. Let's go over some of the action features. For one, we have this kind of tube right here. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, it'll be like a quick change gimmick, like the old Wayne Manor Batcave compound that they did for like Batman Returns, and then they re-released it for all the other old Batman movies. Well, no. This is all it does. That's it. It doesn't do anything. There is no kind of switch, or there's no kind of, trapdoor or anything like that. It is literally kind of a foggy, clear display. And, you can open it back up, and it kind of gets a little stuck. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I feel like that there was something they could have done with this beyond that. Even the tube itself needed like a sticker in the back because it's just this big yellow thing. That to me, it might be the most disappointing part of the whole playset, is there's just not much going on here. And I don't know about you all, but I swear back in like the early 90s when I was a kid, I believe we had cups made out of this exact same material with this kind of foggy clear look. It's almost like a Tupperware container. So I'm not a big fan of that. If they had done anything with this, I wish it had either been totally opaque or that completely transparent plastic. I actually just leave it open like this, and I usually just take a figure, like say the repaint of the Armored Batman that they did recently, and what I do is I turn the head around like this. I put the arms down and put it in kind of a neutral pose. I just load them up in there, and now it's a costume vault. So it's like a mannequin that Batman has that has his extra suit on there. That's how I display it, and I actually think it looks really nice that way. So that's what I do. The other action feature that we'll talk about down here is the doors. This is like doors, I guess, that lead out to Gotham City from the Batcave. So interesting. I don't think it makes any real sense for Batman because as far as I know, the Batcave should not be at ground level, which is, you know, a funny little compromise you have to make with something like this where it's something different on both sides. But it's still neat, though, that there's a connection to be made. But I do like that that's there. And the other feature, I'm not sure if it's an action feature, is the armor that's right here on this kind of vault. So let me just take these pieces off. These just have a peg that you would plug in right there. So word of warning, when you're first putting in this chest armor up here, you'll find that the little bands that go around the waist of the figure are kind of too close together, so you'll be pushing and they won't go through these holes right here. And that's a problem because what you might end up doing is stressing the plastic and actually breaking these little clips. So I want you to be really careful about that because I kind of put way too much pressure on one side of this, and I think it's fine. Most collectors know gold plastic is not your friend, so be very careful and make sure that these little pieces can actually go through the two holes on here and that you're not pushing to where you stress it out. Alright, so let's go ahead and put Batman's armor on. If you've gotten any of these armor pieces with your other Spinmaster Batman figures, then you know very well what this is like. You just start with the chest piece or any one you like. Just put it right on there. And then these are kind of funny because the pegs just go into the hand and like the grip, almost like he's just gripping an accessory. And they happen to be gauntlets that just kind of go over. Sometimes you got to put a little pressure to make sure these actually go into the spot they're supposed to. And the same over here. And finally, the helmet. Helmet can be a little finicky. Sometimes it wants to go like too high like this. And that's fine because, you know, you're probably not going to notice anyway. But honestly, to be true to what it's trying to be, you want Batman's white eyes to actually come through, but it keeps wanting to ride up a little bit. There we go. You almost have to stuff it down into the collar a little bit and then press, and then it'll be lined up correctly. Honestly, it's not a bad look. I actually thought it would be much, much gaudier than this, but it's actually pretty cool looking. It kind of reminds me of like the Total Justice Batman figures that Kenner did back in the day. Here I was kind of hating on the choice of gold, but you know, it actually looks kind of cool with the blue. So it's interesting to note that there are little accessories just like this, the same mold, that are coming with the new Batman figures that Spinmaster is releasing that are gold as well. But they are a very, very different type of gold, and I'll show you what I mean right here. Here they are. So this is a much more realistic gold, and this is more the yellowy gold. So this is still, as far as I know anyway, exclusive to this Batcave set. So just thought I would clear that up for anybody who was wondering. It doesn't look so bad when it's just on its own right there without the armor pieces. But here's something fun you can do. If you have any other piece of armor from the Spinmaster Batman line that comes with the other figures, like this doesn't come with the Batcave, but I have the black version, I can just put it up there. In my personal opinion, it actually looks a little bit better because this contrasts with this gold right out here where you can see it more easily. So if it were me, that's what I would do. I would take my black pieces or silver pieces that you can also get, and I would put in this thing. Here is the Batarang accessory that you also get. It's cast in that same gold plastic, and Batman is able to hold it through these little handholds right here on the side. I'll get that in there, and it looks pretty good. Yeah, this actually looks nice, independent of the actual gold armor, and he looks pretty good with it. So let's also take a look at the side over here. It has some cool sculpting, and we have a sticker application where it's kind of like the caution area, and we have another one of those handholds. And I really like those on this playset because they're pretty versatile. They are sculpted the exact right size, and you know, you can really get some cool poses. It kind of lets you put extra figures somewhere when you're making a display on the other side. So overall, with this level of the Batcave, it's pretty cool. I don't like it quite as much as the actual first level with the Bat Garage and all of that, but it's still pretty nice. I really like the jail, and I think it looks good from, you know, both angles. The costume vault's pretty neat, especially if you replace it with your own black armor pieces. I think it would look a lot better that way. But the big disappointment is the tube here. I wish there was a little bit more going on with the tube, or it was presented a little bit differently, but still not bad at all. And I really like the little breakaway wall feature. Now for the tip top of the Batcave, we have the Bat computer area. I really like this area. It's actually pretty nice. There's lots of cool sculpting detail going on here. There's lots of neat stuff going on with the keyboard. You can see on the computer console there's all the kind of little faux details. Up here we have lots of cool readouts on the display. We have Batman in a glider. We have what looks like the Bat Cycle, perhaps. We have the Batmobile from the Spinmaster line. We also have another shot of the Batmobile. Not really 100% sure if it's supposed to be, I don't think it's supposed to be the same one. I think it might be the little mini Batmobile that comes out of this one from the back. And then right over here we have Batman, another glider pack, I believe. And then right over here we have one of the deluxe kind of like mech things that you'll see. I really like the Gotham map that they have. They actually went to more trouble than they probably had to, with Arkham Asylum, Gotham River, Gotham Harbor, downtown. We have Robinson Park, which I think is a cool homage to Jerry Robinson, who created the Joker, and many other classic Batman characters. As for other details for the top portion of the Batcave, we have a giant yellow button, and it causes the screen to light up. It actually looks a lot better than this in person, and to you it kind of just looks like there's a little ring of light, but for me the whole thing is lit up. And you know how funny light can be. Of course, I'll show it to you in the low light conditions as well. So it actually looks pretty cool. It has a neat kind of a blue glow that's cast right here. Doesn't really light up the rest of the set, but it's a really nice effect. Just wanted to show you that in low light. We also have some sculpted detail on the floor. You can see we have the Bat logo and some kind of techie bits. And then on the sides, we have more of that blue sculpting like the cave at the bottom. And we also have some consoles right here, some kind of security keypads. There's some stickering going right here and some caution stickering. And there's the big stickers down here, which are kind of like the vents and for the Bat computer and kind of the wires coming out of it. Looks like he may need to call an IT guy. There's also, it's worth noting that this is like a piece that's already in there that the light comes through, almost like a cardboard type of thing. But these are all stickers. So be careful, because the one that I got, the stickers were a little mangled up. So you might want to be careful. They're not very well secured in the box, especially when you open it. Make sure you don't accidentally mangle these stickers up. But mine turned out pretty good once they were applied. And on the sides, we actually have some stickering going on for the side of the Bat computer. There's one big giant sticker right here on the side. We have a cardboard piece that gives you the very tiniest indication of the rest of the cave. Nothing too exciting on that one. And over here, we have a little bit of sculpted detail, but this cardboard piece is a little bit neater than the other one. There's a little bit more going on, but not too much. Overall, really love the Bat computer section. It's super nice, this is definitely one that I think people will enjoy using for like little displays and dioramas. And once you have Batman here, it's just so large compared to him, and I really like that look. I'm used to lots of the older Batcaves being just barely big enough to qualify as, the Bat computer, just barely big enough for Batman to be there. And this is actually quite a nice change of pace. All right, and for the Gotham City side of things, we're going to start from the top to the bottom. And let's go ahead and have a look at the top of the skyscrapers, or the one-story building, as it appears to be with this playset. This is really nice. This is this is all an insert. It's not a sticker you have to apply up here. It's just kind of like a cardboard piece, kind of halfway sticker that's already applied for you. I really love the graphics of the building. It's really nice how this extends over the side. This is that cardboard piece, actually. And it really is a pretty seamless transition. I mean, it really does look very convincing as you go from here to there. And the same over here. It's even more convincing here. You have the cardboard piece right back here. So that's actually pretty nice. And of course we have another giant yellow button right here. We'll turn that on and the bat signal lights up. I actually thought it might be nice if we got a quick look at the city side of the playset in low light conditions. And we can see that the bat signal is actually quite bright. As a matter of fact, it's so bright that you can actually see some specks where some paint is either a little missing or a little chipped off, so I may have to go and do some Sharpie work on that. I really like how the LEDs in the back from the Batcave cast a blue light on the wall, so it kind of gives this luminous glow, because that stays on in the Batcave on the other side, so it gives this kind of glow that's emanating around the bat signal. Even if it was unintentional, it looks really nice and kind of silhouettes the rest of the scene, so that actually looks pretty cool and would look really nice in a display, I think. Then we move on down to the buildings themselves, and we have some kind of funny, cool stickers. This is more the villain side of the playset, I guess. So we kind of have this building. It's the Clayface building, Killer Croc and Joker. It's graffiti, and it looks pretty cool, so that's not bad. Unfortunately, even though this is maybe the side that will be the most useful for my display, because I just love how the city looks and the bat signal and all of that, this is the side that I definitely had the most trouble with. I actually got another Batcave, and when I got it, it was, this part was totally mangled, and I'm not really sure what happened. It almost looked like bites. This isn't packed very well in the box. It is just setting in the box. This whole piece right up here is just setting in the box without anything to really protect it from all the other pieces. So that can be kind of an issue when it comes to this stuff getting scuffed up. And I think that's the biggest issue in terms of quality control. So I did have to get a replacement for it. And when I did, this one actually had a slightly different issue where there was a couple little specks over here where it looked like it had got kind of worn off or something. It wasn't much, but it was enough to bother me just a little bit. But I was able to take a Sharpie and kind of just, fill in those little spots. But still, it's definitely something to be aware of with your set. There was also some issues here with a speck of paint that had kind of found its way up here to the building. So taking a little bit of a fingernail polish remover, some acetone, I was able to scrub that away to where you can barely notice it anymore. It can really work a trick sometimes for you when you have to remove stray paint, by the way. But really, I really do like this section, and it looks really great once you have Batman up here. It's kind of got that classic, look of him on the skyscraper and seeing the bat signal, and it even looks nice when you put him down here, because it kind of gives him some distance from the bat signal as if he's looking up at it. I really like that. Really like the sculpting details on the buildings, and then there's even a little bit of paint here with these pipes. One unsightly thing might be the screw cover here, and it even has a little information on there. That's unfortunate. I know that they're trying to distract you from it with the Joker, but wouldn't it have been better if that was like over here and they didn't have the sticker, which, by the way, sticker right here, it's one giant sticker that goes over the side. That looks great. But I don't know how often you're going to see it from that side, but I'm really glad that they at least tried to cover it. Most companies would not have worried about it. But yeah, the battery cover being there, it takes 3 AAAs, by the way. It does not include it. So you do have to have some batteries laying around. Definitely a little unsightly, but I can work around that for sure. Yeah, but not bad at all. Moving to the other side of the costume vault area, we have this other side, which is more like a kind of base level city street right here. And it looks pretty cool. I really like having these kind of neutral backgrounds sometimes that aren't really fantastical. It's just kind of a street level scene. And this is actually big enough to be fairly convincing. Usually you get this stuff and it just barely works for what they're trying to do. But actually this is pretty good in terms of scale. Everything's the right size. Usually everything's too small. And you know, if we can put a bad guy over here, we'll put the man bat right over here. And you can kind of see what I mean. Everything lines up the right way scale-wise. And there's lots of fun little details on this side as well. It's not just, you know, a neutral display. There's lots of cool sticker work. I'll just clear the figure out of the way so you can see. It's almost implying Batman has created his own graffiti tag. And he is in a competition with the bad guys to see who can destroy more of Gotham's property. No, I kind of take this for like you know, some Batman fans have graffitied it. So there you go. Maybe the Sons of Batman from The Dark Knight Returns, right? Yeah. Anyway, we also have those doors that I talked about on the other side. They can go in if you want them to. So you can go to the Batcave that way. Or they can lead out. So it's really up to you. Either way, it looks fine. If you want to, I would actually just pretend this was the inside of a building and not even worry that it was the Batcave. That way you can kind of have like a bad guy coming out from the doors. Hey, that's kind of cool that he balanced that way, right? Huh? It looks like he's floating. So there's lots of things you can do with that little detail. Cool kind of boarded up details on the windows. Lots of cool stickers. I really like this sticker because there is a molded kind of paper, like a spot that's exact for you to put this on. You see how the sticker even folds around to the other side? I love that. I wish that more companies would have actual molded spots to put the stickers. And it's also really nice that they painted where the bricks are supposed to be. I guarantee you that most companies would not have done that, and that all would have been just one gray piece. So that is really nice. Glad to have the gray pipe painted. You know, here's like a little piece, like the sidewalk is kind of coming out. Now, if this was raised up, you could hang the ladder on this. Same over here. It's kind of more of a destroyed piece of the sidewalk. They have a Joker graffiti tag and a broken window. And then the top of it can easily double as the top of a building, or you can just hook on the top part to this. We also have an electrical pole right here. And this is also the way that you initiate one of the action features. So at this point, does it not seem to be an unwritten rule of Batcave playsets that there always has to be a zipline in there? As a matter of fact, I think it's an unwritten rule of most playsets at this point. So let me show you how it works. You can take this, and it's got hooks on either side, and you can hook it like this if you want to. You could also hook it around some other parts up there. And you take the other hook, and there's one of those handholds down here. This is also where you could put the ladder if you wanted to when it was in full-on city mode. So we can hook it up like that. And you could probably stretch it to get it to the other handhold over here if you wanted to have it be more taut, I suppose. And there, once we kind of fool with it a little bit. And I'll just kind of pull it to make sure. You get the idea. Of course, if this part wasn't there, it would have been a lot smoother. On the actual playset, you know, this is negative space once you have it all assembled. So, you know, he can zip line through no problem. I think that's a really cool little feature. What's even neater is that you can actually take it and you can lock it down like this. Lock it down all the way if you'd like. There you go. It's Batman No Man's Land, like when they have all the earthquakes and it's all destroyed. So that's one option for you. You can take it and go all the way the other way with it, and that's kind of funny looking. Also, we have the dumpster. We can load one of our bad guy figures. Let's go with the Joker. He's trash, right? Let's see, put him in there. He thinks it's a roller coaster, but joke's on him. Over here, there's a little tab. And this is a U-powered action feature. Nothing special going on here. You just grab the tab and once again we have a little handhold section right up here, or you can use it to clip on a ladder. So you can have it just go like that if you want. That's one option for you. Overall, I really like this section. I think you can do some cool things with a diorama, particularly if you just have this section attached and not the rest of the Batcave, like the bottom part and all that. I think you can do some cool things just with this being its own thing and the Batcave being separate. And lastly, we have no one's favorite part of a video game, the sewer level. And we can see that, you know, there's not a whole lot going on to this part of the playset. This is more like an open area for you to either park a Batmobile, which you can do. It's kind of weird that it would be jamming through the sewers, but you know, hey, Batman's done weirder things. But this is kind of just like a big play area where you can pose your bad guys and your Batman figures kind of fighting down here. There's lots of room for whatever you want to do. I do think it's important that playsets have that kind of thing. So, you know, Batman's still got a Zipline attached here. You get the idea. There's kind of this whole negative space right here. That especially goes well with their Creature Chaos branding that Spinmaster is putting on a lot of the figures. They're going for giant monsters that Batman is fighting. I really like the sculpting work that's on the sewer part. You can see there's lots of cool sculpting. They even went to the trouble of painting this gray and having green on the slime. This is something you would see like Playmates neglect a lot with their Ninja Turtles sewer layers. And it's funny, I'm comparing toy sewers at this point. I can't believe we're here. Welcome to 2020. Over here we have another cool cardboard insert. Of course, the other side is the Batcave. I really like the artwork here. It looks very traditional, kind of hand-drawn. Very nice. Good extension of what we have on the side. And then over here, much like we had this kind of area with the Batcave, we now have a little play area for the sewer portion. It's kind of like a little nook. And, you know, you can take a figure, you can have it be right here, and it's just kind of its own little thing. And just like with the Batcave, they have measured it out perfectly, where Batman's shoulders can clear it, and of course height-wise, he can clear it. Lots of nice little sculpting touches over here on the side. This is a very competent part of the playset, but there's not a whole lot going on this side, and it's probably more of a facilitation of the Batmobile being able to park and kind of needing someplace to go. Like I said earlier, there is no additional sculpting on the inside, and you can of course see the gas pump and tool cord kind of coming out from the other side of the Batcave. Overall, I like this. It looks really nice, and I would say if a customizer got a hold of this and added a little bit of wash up here on these bricks, it might look pretty nice. And for any of y'all who's been with us a long time, for years and years here on Fanboys Forever, here's a little quick comparison with the old Batman Power Attack Batcave. This thing is a little bit taller than it is, but it was impressive that Mattel was able to at least get it to this height, and especially with this extended up here. Then it becomes actually taller than this one with that part. It was impressive Mattel was able to get it to this height with it just being, you know, around the $30 mark. However, there's so much more going on here that, you know, it's definitely another dimension of play. This was kind of, you know, this was cool for what it was, and it's certainly very colorful, and it had its own merits, I think. But there's certainly just much more quality sculpting going on here, and definitely much more neat design work. And I don't think it suffers from the main problem this did of just being so plain, I think. So that's just a little quick comparison on it. So down here at the Bat Garage, I guess we can call it, we're going to go ahead and have a look at how maybe a couple of different Batmobiles might look down there. Like I said, I don't have the Spinmaster one, and it, you know, it fits perfectly from all the pictures and videos I've seen. But let's just look at a couple of other ones. Here's one of the more recent-ish Batmobiles that Brandon and I reviewed many, many years ago here on the channel. Oh, I think it was called the Blast Lane Batmobile from Mattel. It was scaled for 6-inch figures, but it was significantly smaller than the previous 6-inch Batmobiles they had done. And because of it being so much smaller, it fits perfectly. Even the fin on the top, it's just barely, but it does clear the front here. So that it can actually go all the way out, all the way in. No problem whatsoever. So it actually looks pretty nice down here as well. When you take a Batman figure, let's just have a look at the armored one here. You put him right beside of it. You know, it looks a little big, but you can almost say that it was more like a tank. Pretty good. Plenty of room in there, and as soon as you're rolling around, you know, he's going to be flopping all over the place. but you know, he fits in no problem with plenty of room to spare. I will kind of show you the limit of what you can do when it comes to fitting a Batmobile in here. This is one that probably a lot of you have because it is extremely recent. This is Mattel's last Batmobile, or at least that I know of, that they offered. This was just the Batman Missions Batmobile that was for the 6-inch scaled figures. I really liked this one. Definitely enjoyed it. But it can just barely, and I mean barely, you'll see what I mean. It's squeezing the plastic through there, but it gets through. But it can't go out the other end. You can maybe see back there because it's more narrow on the sewer entrance. It can go in that much, and that's as far in as it can go. But it still looks nice down there. But it looks absolutely huge if you were to actually put a figure beside of it. So this is like, if Batman were to drive this Batmobile like down the interstate, he would take up 2 to 3 lanes. It would be wider or just as wide as like 2 semis right beside of each other. So that's the absolute limit of what you can do with a Batmobile. I just thought it would be fun to show you some different options. So anytime that we review a Batcave here on the channel, we do want to show you what some of the different scales of Batman figures might look like. Let's put a Batman Missions figure, which was the 6-inch line from Mattel. Here we go. We'll just put him in front of the Bat computer. It's not horrible in front of the Bat computer, actually. You can sort of cheat it and get away with it, I think. In a lot of your diorama shots, his feet are very firmly planted there. So he actually looks halfway decent, which isn't really what I expected. I actually thought it would be pretty laughable once we put him up there. But you know what? It's not bad. You can put him over here to the side, of course, as well. So, you know, you could fit, I don't know, you could probably fit 3 or 4 the Bat family up here if you wanted to from the Missions line. So that's not actually too bad. If we go down just a little bit, and we'll just have a look down here, we'll see how he looks. If he can even, he cannot go like into the recesses of the cave back here. He can stand on the outside ledge he can stand on the outside ledge just fine, so that's not too bad. Then you get here and the head's coming into, see, he falls over because this is blocking the head, so he can't stand straight up. So I would not suggest you get this for your 6-inch figures for this section, but you know, if you're up here, it's not that bad. It actually doesn't look very bad down here, but you run into the trouble to where he really can't get under there. He's a good, you know, 1/4 of an inch. His ears go up just a little too far to get in under that part of the cave. So that's not happening, and you certainly can't cram him into the costume vault. And the only way that any bad guys are going in that jail cell in a 6-inch scale is if they're crouched down. So yeah, it's definitely a 3 3/4 scale playset. Here's a fun one. It's the DC Comics 3 3/4 scale line from Mattel. You can take the Spinmaster Batman this came with, and even though they're similar in height, the bulk is definitely very different between them. So really, he looks just as good as Spinmaster Batman does with this playset. And to prove my point, he can easily go down to that bottom level. If you have any of these guys from back in the day, they're an excellent fit scale-wise. So overall, with the 3-in-1 Batcave from Spinmaster, you could do so much worse for what they're charging for this thing. Right now on Walmart.com, you can get it for $45, free shipping right to your door. And for that kind of price, you get a whole lot going on. You can split it apart and do lots of different things with it. You can certainly make some interesting combinations. You can display it side by side if you want. You can break it up and have 3 different displays. You could have 2 different displays. Me personally, I think it might be neat to just have the 2 top levels together and do its own thing, especially with the city portion. There's lots and lots of possibilities here. But the main thing is that it looks really great with your Spinmaster Batman figures. It does come with an exclusive Batman figure. I think that this is actually a worthwhile exclusive as well. It's not some, you know, absolutely fruity look for Batman. It is a very much Jim Lee kind of inspired, kind of hush color scheme that we have going on with a lighter blue. There's lots going on here. Love the light up feature. So are there any drawbacks to the set? Some of the quality control can be a little iffy, particularly on the other side with the bat signal area. That can get scuffed up and damaged, as we saw earlier. There's certainly, you know, the stickers can be a little banged up if you're not careful. This cylinder portion right here doesn't really do much of anything aside from just be a vault, so I would have liked to have seen a little more going on there. The gold color for the armor is, you know, it's a little gaudy, I guess, but you know, if you're a kid, I'm sure that it might be pretty thrilling to see Batman wear a full-on gold suit armor, and it certainly looked fine on the exclusive figure that it came with. I mean, all of the classic playset tropes that you could ever want are here, so there's plenty to love about this playset. So would I recommend this Batcave to families, especially those with children that already have some of the Spinmaster Batman figures? Absolutely. Not only, you know, is it a lot of fun, but it actually looks pretty cool, and I think kids would absolutely love it. For adult collectors, would I recommend it? Well, that depends. Do you like the kind of thing that Spinmaster is doing with Batman license? I mean, I love it, and I think there's several adult collectors that really like what they're doing with the DC stuff. And if you are one of those collectors, then I think that you're going to love this, maybe even more than you do the figures. Not only does it come with an actual great comic book variant Batman, but there's lots of cool details. It almost, in a way, reminds me of like a Comic-Con display. It's not so gigantic and unmanageable like the giant Batcave that Mattel did that I have in the corner of my basement, or the giant Playmates sewer layers that they've done for the Ninja Turtles. This thing, if you wanted to, you could break it down and put it on a shelf somewhere. Really no extra special storage required, and if you're a collector like me, that kind of storability means something. So I do think that helps it out a lot. So definitely, I recommend that you seek out this Batcave, and I hope you get just as much enjoyment out of it as I have. I sure do appreciate you guys watching. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe so you can see all of our future videos here on Fanboys Forever. And God bless you all. Be careful out there, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever.